Guys, welcome to the Margins Podcast.
Welcome back to the Margins Podcast.
Welcome back. The show where we break down books we've read, we haven't read, and some that we wish we never started. Yeah. I'm Stranton alongside my co-host,
Cristiano. Very happy to be here. Got a lot to catch up on today.
Yes, we do. This week's episode goes into deep grief, regret, masculinity, revenge, the mess we call redemption. Guys, today we're doing Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. But before that, how are we doing? How are you doing? How are you doing, my friend?
You know, usually when people ask that, I say, we're here. Mm-hmm. Another day, another crack at it.
Mm-hmm. Is that your go-to?
That's my go-to.
Mine is, and you don't know, it's not to that question. It's whenever anyone says like anything positive, maybe. Mm-hmm. My answer is always like, I'm trying.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know why that's been my go-to.
You know, I think that there's a level of authenticity in the response, although it is like a generic response at some level, but level of authenticity, because you're not always doing great. Mm-mm. You're not always doing bad. Mm-mm. Right? But trying, it's every day, you know?
It's one of those things, though, that when I say it, I'm like, I want to kick myself in the face. But because I hear it so much.
Yeah.
They don't hear it so much. They hear it with the interaction I give, but.
Yeah. I think that people appreciate for it to get shaken up a little bit, you know? Because most people are going to say, I'm good.
Yeah.
And just keep pushing, you know? One thing that I try to do all the time is, even with strangers, like, hey, how you feeling? And sometimes it goes over people's heads. They're like, you know, I'm good. But I'm like, no, I'm actually interested. Like, how do you feel? How are you feeling?
It's the whole changing of the guard as far as like a question, going from like, oh, what do you do for work? Or like moving it to, oh, what do you find joy in doing?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Someone's like, oh, let me think on that.
Yeah, not ready for that question.
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that at least personally, I like to try to not just remember, but help everyone else remember that we're people. Mm-hmm. You know, we're humans. We're all one species here. And it's really important to bring our day-to-day conversations back to that, because we get so lost in the sauce. Like, work, family, issues that pop up in threes.
Finances. Usually due to those finances, or what's causing those finances, the car always breaks down. The tooth always hurts.
As soon as you feel like you're like, oh yeah, I'm okay, I'm doing all right, the car's like, oh, are you?
The rash comes back.
Are you sure?
Yeah. It's always that check engine light just comes back with vengeance. So, but
all in all, not gonna lie, we're doing okay. You know, like family's healthy, happy. Birthdays, it's birthday season for us. So, to be fair, on the inside, I'm dying a little.
Yeah,
I complain all the time to Nye. I'm like, the way we set up the birthdays was bad on me, because we go from Christmas, we have a small break from Christmas, and then you have birthday, summer, birthday, holiday season. It goes straight into like Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and just restarts. I'm like, we're in this year-round spending theme.
We're the tail end of the years where it gets dicey, because I'm midway through the year, but then it will be now my kiddos, and then Rach is in November.
Okay.
But our anniversary is October. So it goes October anniversary, her birthday, November, Christmas, and then it feels like we take a breath, and then it's Valentine's Day. All things I love celebrating.
Yeah, love it.
These aren't complaints
at all. Yeah.
I didn't want you to think that I was complaining here. It wasn't a complaint.
No,
I'm
just stating a fact.
Excited about that. That's what I meant to say was that's my favorite part of the year, because I get to give.
Love giving.
Love giving.
Givers, as
Givers.
they say.
Definitely givers.
Yeah. Book. Shameless plug. It's called The Giving Tree.
I thought you were going to go with The Giver.
No.
Because that's,
yeah.
that's
Yeah. But I had to go.
The Giving Tree. Yeah.
Elementary.
Sorry. Yeah. Fundamental right there. Yeah.
Everyone's read it, I think.
We're the trees. We're the trunks.
Yeah.
You know?
But yeah. What about you? Everything's good, right?
Yeah.
No earth-shattering news. The boy's looking.
Yeah, the boy's looking healthy. He actually, I didn't tell you this. On the drive over here, I'd left our place, and then like 5 minutes later, she FaceTimed me. Rach FaceTimed me.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, what's going on?" That was her storming out of the building.
Yeah.
Talking
shit about me?
Yeah. She's like, I found a tooth.
Really?
Yeah. So he's it hasn't broken skin yet.
Yeah.
But
it's there.
It's
you can feel
there,
it.
which he has been super fussy.
That makes sense. You guys have like the teethers, the ones you can freeze, right?
Yeah. We have the freezers, the ones we can freeze, we throw in the fridge. He's been going at it for a while. We've been saying anytime he was doing anything, we figured it was teething, but it's the real deal now. We had the fun thing of introducing, because she's still pumping and breastfeeding, but this week we tried supplementing with formula, and it was good for about 3 days.
Yeah. The poop goes crazy, though.
Bruh. It wasn't going.
Oh, he was constipated.
Yeah, which we didn't know.
Yeah.
Because he already was like kind of going like every 2 days, every 3 days.
Yeah.
Which he used to be like 3 to 4 times a day.
Yeah.
Long before. But then we got used to the 2 to 3 days, but then it wasn't going. And then it was little stinks, big stinks left and right. And then finally he went yesterday.
You got to find the right form. So with formula, it's never the first one. Usually you have to so we had to do the fussy baby one. I forgot. So they have like orange,
the gentle
purple.
ease. Yeah. So right? We did Similac at the very beginning, like out of the NICU. He did the orange pre-made ones. He liked those. He was fine. Then he went to breast milk or full-time breast milk. And then we were given the Infamil. And we got the Gentle Ease and the normal. I tried Gentle Ease about 3 or 4 months ago just to try it.
Yeah.
And he immediately swatted that bottle away and was like, "Nah, nice try.
Right.
Go get the real stuff." And then 3 or 4 days ago, just because like making sure the supply's there and everything, I was like, "Oh, try it. And I'll just try the orange one, like the normal one." And he took the bottle, and then he took the bottle the next day, and then the next day.
It's the ease of the milk.
And then the 4th day, he swatted it away and was like, not taking that.
Yeah.
And I think he, going through it, was like, "That's jacking me up, and you're gonna see." And we did. So, so found tooth, trying out formulas right now. But yeah, baby boy's good. Went to LA Zoo today. Had a good time. Got some steps in. He's awesome. Way more vigilant. We went in December when he was just a couple months.
Yeah, with the lights.
For the lights, yeah. And he was able to check out lights, but that was basically the only thing if he could see colors at that time. But yeah, baby boy's good. Rachel's doing great at work. We just got back from a trip from seeing family, so that was great. And we got a good setup here going. Starting off.
Love it. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
So, just to get into the episode a little bit, this episode, we're going to go deep into themes like grief, regret, masculinity, revenge.
Just all the fun stuff. Welcome to... I was going to say Oxygen, but the Lifetime channel.
Yeah.
Right here.
The read definitely felt like a... So, I would like, in my day-to-day, I would call it like a Tyler Perry movie. Or Tyler Perry show. Which is just to say it's like a soap opera. It's like a cultural soap opera. But I really enjoyed the themes that he threw in there. Lots of really... strong ideas though, variations. Like culturally it was very on point though, not gonna lie.
I went into this, and we're gonna get into the the author, but spoiler, he is black. And I was so happy to make like that was the case.
You
I was
could
like,
tell though.
please make sure that
there are certain things in the book. I'm like, oh yeah, he has to be
culturally,
black.
you're just like,
I'm like, oh yeah,
he knows.
Because it's the barbershop scene.
Yeah,
is very quintessential. Some of the tropes, right? Because every writer has like a trope that they implement. Some of the tropes are very much African American. Like I guess you could say they're inherent to being black, you know. And so I very quickly realized he was black, and then just to be completely fair, like the Southern aspect, you really get a strong Southern
clear
feel to it.
We get it because we're both from, you know, Southern California.
Yeah.
The South of Cali. Also, our Between the Wines. I wanted to make sure we got our boy here. We got Brutus hanging out. You guys can see as I block him. I apologize. We got Brutus holding him down. We have Hook or Crook here.
So we paired
it with the book.
Yeah. We
got Hook or Crook, which we paired with the book.
Dr. Seuss would be proud.
Yeah, Dr. Seuss would be proud. We paired it with Razorblade Tears because of all of the, you know, the hooking and the crooking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very much on theme.
Did I get this at a wine shop? No, I did get it at Costco, guys. So you guys could probably get it there too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I want to support local. The bottle, I mean, the company itself is local to California from Lodi. But yeah, it is, it's nice. I don't mind it.
I like that it has a sweet ending, right? So it's, as you drink it, usually sometimes there's like a bite that you're waiting for. But this one has a sweet ending.
Yeah, it doesn't have a high price point. So I did expect the bitter punch to, typically it's the aftertaste that, you know, you get and you're like, I could taste that $5 chuck. This $5 chuck, it's good.
No, Costco did it.
Costco did it.
All right.
So yeah, I wanted to bring that. A little bit about the author, S.A. Cosby. Full name is Sean Andre Cosby.
Okay.
He is a New York Times bestseller. Out of Newport News, Virginia. He writes what you'd call Southern noir, gritty, emotional crime fiction rooted in real people and real pain.
You can tell like the real people, real pain thing is like, this is the only book I've ever read from him. And I was like, it's pretty vivid, you know?
His breakout novel was Blacktop Wasteland, dropped in 2020. Razorblades.
He's new.
Yeah. Razorblades came out after that in 2021. And then most recently, the other one that I've heard a ton about was All the Sinners Bleed, came out in 2023. He wrote that in response to George Floyd.
Gotcha.
Cosby, it says here, Cosby's stories pull no punches. They deal with race, masculinity, redemption, as we were talking about, the messy gray areas. And he's become one of the most important voices in modern crime fiction. Raw, unfiltered, deeply Southern.
Yeah. So, and I know this is something that we'll get into probably a little bit deeper a little bit later. I really enjoyed the juxtaposition, though, because although this is a black writer and one of the main characters is black, he does a great job at showing the other side of it as well. So the other main character is a Southern white man, older white gentleman, does a great job as well. Like in terms of like the showing the differences in upbringing, and then the similarities, right? Like how similar they are, even though they're from completely different walks of life. And although like here in Southern California, we don't deal with that as much, it's not so much in your face. In the South, this, you know, certain parts of the South, this is still very much their life.
Yeah.
When I first started reading it, I was like, I wonder what the time period is. And then as you read, yeah,
that is one thing. We can say that. Well, actually, let's do the synopsis. Let's put a pin in that, and directly after. So, the synopsis. Do you want to do the synopsis first and second?
Sure. Why not? This is it. It's short. So synopsis. Razorblade Tears is a gritty Southern noir that follows two ex-cons, one black, one white. They unite to avenge the murder of their married sons. As they delve deeper into the criminal underworld, they confront their own prejudices and past mistakes, seeking redemption in a world that offers none.
I think if you take that, I think whenever it comes to race, I think out of comfortability, it's pretty easy. And I'll say that just out of my own comfort, where you go, oh, this book must be from the 60s, 70s. Like, not the book, I'm sorry, the story must be from around then. Because, you know, we're good now.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Talking about there's no racism, there's no prejudices.
Yeah. So that's funny that you brought up, like, oh, what time period? Because I was doing the same thing. And then as they started dropping little, not Easter eggs, but little moments of like, oh, they on
pop culture and stuff.
Pop culture references. I was like, oh, this is now.
Yeah.
It's
just in the South.
Yeah, they're talking about cell phones, and they're talking about, you know, like,
Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, reference Sons of Anarchy.
I felt like there was a reference that I was so looking forward to. Oh, I feel like there was a fantasy one. Oh, it's going to bug me. There was one in there that I remember I heard, and I was like, no way.
I think.
Oh. Wait, was it in that? There's some book that I just read that they referenced Hunter x Hunter.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Was it in this?
No.
Are you sure?
I don't think so. Hunter x Hunter?
Yeah.
There's no way they reference Hunter x Hunter, and I missed it.
I'm gonna have to go through my Goodreads of which ones I read. Which we actually didn't even talk about with the books. It's not in. Oh, what we're reading now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, but anyway,
we want to talk about that real quick before we jump into, because we're gonna get deeper into the book.
Oh yeah.
Or do you want to just reference at the end? We're gonna save it for the end.
Yeah, let's save it for the end.
Okay, cool. All right, so because I'm excited, like you referred this book to me, and I was like, you kind of went through like what about a little bit. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna read that when we're talking about what the next episode will be, and it didn't disappoint. I will say, so I'm extremely biased to cultural reads, and not in the way that you think. Like, so I grew up on Black culture, and I generally don't like to read or watch Black pain that much, just because growing up, everything was about it, and even still, it's like pervasive. And so, which is why I love fantasy so much, because you don't really have to be black, white, anything. You're just a thing, right? You're a character in a world, and I don't care about what you look like in your upbringing. Versus when I was growing up, everything, you kind of watch what was in your culture, right? So you're gonna watch Arsenio growing up. You're gonna watch. To be honest, Black people watch a lot of Johnny Carson too, but you'll watch Arsenio, you'll watch In Living Color, Living Single,
Martin,
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You're gonna read Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, Road to Memphis, etc. Like, you know, these classical Black books. You're gonna movie side, Beloved, very, very. If you haven't watched it, don't worry about it. Fucking scarred me for life. PTSD. Glory? Don't want to watch it again.
Yeah.
I've watched it so many times when I was younger. I probably shouldn't have watched it when I was younger. If you guys have seen it, you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. Beloved is, The Color Purple, another one. It's quotable for me because I've watched it that many times. Roots,
I was gonna say.
Every year we watch. It's like, and I just got tired of it. Like, not that like in a mean way, but in a visceral way. Like, I'm like, yeah, I can. It kind of eats at me a little bit personally, and so I tend to not want to get into it. Specifically, even like the slavery stuff, I can dip in, dip out. Okay, whatever. It's annoying, but I'll read it, and then I'm like, oh, actually, that wasn't annoying. That was a great read, or that was interesting, or I didn't see that. I didn't think about that perception, or like, you know, Django. I really enjoyed Django. Yeah. At first, I didn't think I was gonna like it, right? But I like it was a great movie. So I grew up in the 90s. My mom was like maybe 20 or 30 during like the 80s and 90s. She had drug addictions. She went through the man thing. So my family's from the South. My family's from Rome, Georgia. So red dirt, green tree, South. She runs out here to the West Coast, but no one's out here. She came when she was pretty young. I'll probably misquote her age, but she was really young when she came out here. Her older brothers followed her out here. So my Uncle Joe, my Uncle Mike. And I had another auntie out here named, I think her Aunt Kitty was out here. And that's who she stayed with at first. She's living in LA. My dad, just how she met my dad, right? But going through all the quintessential 90s stuff, I remember us being poor and walking to like a Martin Luther King, stuff like that, the hospital, because you can get food and stuff there. Like back in the day, I don't know if they still do that, but back in the day, they used to feed you if you didn't like have enough food. And this is back when the food stamp days and people were using like money, but once again, my mom was on drugs and my older brothers were there. They kind of raised us, my older brothers and sisters. And so anyways, long story short, I lived that life. So when I got older, and even as I was growing up, I was like, man, I don't really like reading that life because it's just, I lose the fantastical part of the story.
It's not fantastical for you.
Yeah, it's not fantastical at that point. And so, like, which is really interesting because my partner, Naya, she only reads this stuff. So Horror Sun, etc. Like, she reads the grittiest of books.
Native Son, did you ever read that one? Or Native Boy? Native Boy?
It's the only literature she reads, and it's just like, because there's a level of drama that she really wants to interact with and think about and talk about. Whereas for me, I'm like, I've done enough of it. So I was happy that I didn't know enough about the book to where I didn't my biases weren't there. And so when I started reading, I was like, oh, it's one of those books. And I'm like, okay, it's actually interesting. Okay, no problem. Because it starts off with a death.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? And like just getting that background on him, when you talk about the recidivism rate and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, so he's been to jail. His PTSD with like answering a door, the police knock on the door, he thinks they're there for him. He's about to run. His natural reaction is to run out the back door, stuff like that. I'm like, man, like this is quintessential Black culture. But yeah, that's just one thing that I wanted to say, that I was like, man, I got to tell him that. So early thoughts, I was like, am I going to enjoy this book this much? And I really did, though. It was a great read, great recommendation. So even for people who are kind of like me that are a little bit adverse to getting into stuff that kind of recants parts of your culture or life that you don't really want to interact with, this is not one of those where I think that anyone can enjoy the read. It's really good.
I if I'm being 100% honest.
Yeah.
So when I love a book, I think I might have said this before, but when I love a book, I'm like, you read it, everyone. This is the best thing on earth. You need to read this. Yeah. So I did that with you. I also did that with a friend of mine who had, the book was, which it should have a trigger warning, but it was about, there was a part about domestic violence. She had lived that life. Yeah. Me not knowing, me knowing, but not realizing, trigger warnings and all that. I was like, oh, I really like this book. And then she was like, oh, they like fantasized or, made this magical thing out of domestic violence. And I don't love that. I'm like, oh yeah, know your audience. Yeah. And I've since been back and I was like, I don't love that book anyway. But what I will say is that I sent it your way because, as I've told you, I've had my older sister, a couple of my really close friends read it. They've all been, and none are part of the culture. Yeah. I thought about that afterwards and I was like, I wonder what his take's going to be on this. Yeah.
So a lot of what we talk about today, I'll reference that. Okay. Yeah, I'll reference that. Cool. Yeah, I just wanted to give that because a lot of, for our listeners and stuff, it's not just what we talk about. It's not just like what we love in literature. Sometimes we'll read stuff and we just as we say in the intro, sometimes stuff that we hate or we're not really comfortable with. And I think that that's also very important. That's probably some of the most important part of any discourse, are the things that people tend to stay away from.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree. Character deep dive. So our characters, we have Ike Rudolph.
Mm-hmm.
He is black, ex-convict, trying to live clean. He runs a successful landscaping business, avoids trouble, lost his son, and struggles with unresolved guilt and his past rejection of his son's sexuality.
Right.
And then his cohort in this book, the other main characters, Buddy Lee Jenkins, polar opposite as far as being white, an alcoholic, washed up, full of regret, formerly homophobic, now spiraling with grief and desperate to do the right thing.
Right. And both did bits in jail.
Yeah. Both are ex-cons.
Yeah.
Both have had serious past with running against the law.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But also cut from the same cloth. So what we were talking about.
Absolutely.
Cut from the same cloth, but very different.
Very different. One of my I won't say it. I don't know if we're gonna get into it later. But one of my favorite parts of the book is actually a quotable from the very end of the book. And I'm glad that they said it, or, they wrote it. I should say he wrote it in there, because I thought about that like maybe 3/4 of the way through. I had that same thought, and then he said it at the end, which I love a good ending. And so I really enjoyed that quotable. So I'll save it for later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then as far as, I guess you guys got the synopsis. As far as spoilers go, we're going to, try our best to not give up any main points. When we do.
So I'm the spoiler here.
No, I know. What I mean by that is, or what I should say is, that if we are about to say one, we'll go ahead and say
we'll do a disclaimer.
This moving forward, we're still in a good area. I would say when we get to favorite lines and scenes.
Yeah.
Right before that, it's plot beats and spoilers. At that point, we'll go and give you the thumbs up to go ahead and move on.
Yeah. You can skip that part if you guys are spoiler adverse.
Yeah, for our viewers and listeners, you guys are safe here. We'll put it in the description of the episode too, that you guys are good up to a certain point. So don't ever worry about spoilers. If we do have one, we'll catch it and make sure that in the description we know, or you'll know where to skip.
I like spoilers, guys.
Yeah. Some people are the worst, and you're it.
I'm high on the spectrum of spoilers. Yeah. I don't mind a little bit of.
I do. But I get it. It's funny because I think the whole spoiler thing is, we're both about the experience.
Yeah.
Like the important thing is that you experience, like you get to the point and you still get to experience the thing. Me is. The experience is in not knowing.
Yeah, it's the journey.
Yeah.
And then, I get that.
Anyway, so those are our characters.
Their relationship. Let's get into that. Their development, their character development, and their relationship. I'm excited to get into that. Mm-hmm. I think that. So I don't know who went the furthest in their development. I can't really say. I think it was pretty even.
Yeah.
But I think that they both of the main characters, Buddy Lee Jenkins and Ike, they had a great amount of character development, going from being pretty closed-minded and not attempting to understand other people to actively trying to engage and understand others' point of views. It's a character trait I look for in real people. So I definitely enjoyed that development. If I was going to say that there was something that I wish developed a little bit more, it would have been Maya, which is Ike's wife. Yeah. I really wanted to see more development in their relationship. Mm-hmm. You kind of got a little bit of it like further on in the book, but because she's a huge supporting part of who Ike's character is and why he is the way he is, and he repeatedly talks about this. I won't, go into what he says, but he repeatedly says that about like how his family is huge in who he is now. and why he is now, right? So that's one of the developmental angles that I really wanted to read more about. But other than that, I can't say that there's something I wanted more. I think he did a really good job at developing them from point A to point B to point C.
It's funny because in the description here, I forgot that it had said that formerly that Buddy Lee was formerly homophobic.
Yeah.
Like right off the bat. And as you read it, you realize guys that their sons were married. Neither father wanted to be part of their sons' lives, or they gave them the hardest time. And that's the nicest way of putting it, that they gave them a hard time. Not the case. Definitely weren't allies. Definitely weren't there for them. But I do now, reading that part in the description of Buddy, he did like come to Ike already like, that doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
His sexuality has nothing to do with who my son was.
The loss of his son really opened his eyes to that point of view, where he was like,
yeah, the most unfortunate thing. But yeah.
And this is not a spoiler, guys. That's how the book opens. The book opens with that. I think you read that.
It's in the synopsis. Yeah, it's not only in the synopsis, it's in the whole thing. But he is. So when we talk about the character arc, it's funny because it's like, oh, they both grew. And if you said, oh, it's from like the character arc of acceptance, but what they're accepting is different. They both have different things that they're accepting. I feel like Buddy Lee is a little bit more of, Black culture and the perspective and understanding, whereas Ike is more so on the other side of, his son's lifestyle.
Right. And he's like I think he's more so than Buddy Lee for sure.
So far. Yeah, so far back on that. And then also a little bit of like Buddy Lee, not to the point where it's like, oh, I understand you too now, friend. Yeah. Buddy Lee needed help, and Ike was definitely there to give it to him. But they helped each other out significantly.
I think that there's a real line there though that ties to real life. I'm not white, obviously, but I do know that in Black culture, there are people who take it just as serious as not even like people. There's a whole thing about it. And yeah, it's usually like the older people. It's not really so much the younger generations, but the older generations, especially in the South. So one of the things I really liked, so you can split this book up. You can say there's a white perspective, there's a Black perspective, there's a heterosexual perspective, there's a homosexual perspective. Thank you. Yeah. Queer perspective. Hope I'm using the right terms there. There's trans, right? There's a little bit of trans perspective. I think one of the perspectives that I like the most, one of the undertones I really like the most, is that there's even like a right and a left perspective. And they're not exactly at odds. If anything, when you read the full scope of the book, it kind of shows you the similarities between the far right and the far left. And this book isn't like crazy politically charged at all, but I think that there's a lot of, and that's why it was really good that it was based in the South, because the South is so still today very clearly similar to that juxtaposition. So if you go to certain parts of the South, there's a church on every corner. Doesn't matter if you're in a Black neighborhood, a white neighborhood, there's a church on every corner. Okay. And this is one of the reasons why they may be homophobic in a certain area, or just very stern, or stuck in their ways, right? This is one of the crutches that they use. That's a real life thing. Doesn't matter if you're following the left or the right. A lot of people tend to just, you see Black people, you automatically go there on the left. But in actuality, Ike is very much right-minded. Like, he's not like, he didn't get out of jail and try to get on welfare or anything like that. He was like, no, how do I help people see me as a productive member of society? Okay, let me start a business. And I don't just want to start a business. I want to be his business is doing very well. Yeah. And he has so much pride in working and building that business and, putting his family in a better place. And I think that people attribute that more to like the right side, right wing of thinking. So when I was reading it, those are two positions that I really enjoyed, because I think that no matter which side that you fall on, you won't be disappointed in this book. Same thing culturally. Like, I think that white or black, whatever your culture, you don't have to be white or black. I think this is a very enjoyable read, which is why it makes sense that like your family, your sister, you say your sister, your one of your friends, like, you know, they read it and they're like, okay, yeah. So them enjoying it does not like, it doesn't blow my mind. I can definitely understand that because it's a very enjoyable read.
It's a thriller.
Yeah, it's a thriller.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what it was pitched to me. It was actually pitched not directly to me, but Smitty on TikTok. He was the one that recommended it, and I was like, oh, he put it as a 6 out of 5 for him, and he's like, and he basically painted the picture that it was his favorite thriller.
I didn't think about that. Like, if you enjoy thrillers or crime books, you won't even care about like the cultural.
No. And that's what, even when we were walking in here, I was telling you that I was like, man, it's a movie. I see it as a movie right off the bat.
Yeah.
Like, I just felt like a screenplay, as if like S.A. Cosby's mind was picturing that the whole time. Like, how could this be portrayed?
So I hope this isn't like a digression, but the reason why I like books more than movies or TV shows is because most of the time they're colorless. And I know I kind of mentioned this earlier, but like for me, okay, but for everyone, I one of the most enjoyable parts about like literature is that it's information passed on to someone else for them to enjoy in some way, shape, or form, or learn from, or whatever. And I hate when, I won't call them prejudices, but like your point of views, your expectations get in the way of the story that's being told. And sometimes, not everyone, I won't even say most people, probably a small amount of people feel like this, but you don't actually catch some of the major themes and things that the author wanted you to catch, right? So I'll give you a very popular example. And this is from my point of view, by the way. I immediately did not want to watch the new Harry Potter series that's coming out because it made Snape black. And at first I didn't say it was because Snape is black, but at first how I worded it to myself was like, they did the movies, they casted the perfect Snape. So much so that, mind you, I read the books a year or two, maybe 3 before I actually even watched the movie, you know, because I read them when they first came out. And that's exactly what I envisioned out of Snape. So now, years later, as an adult, like, no, I actually wasn't prepared to watch. I'm not prepared to watch this version of Snape, right? And although I say it's because he's black, but I think that's just like the easy thing to ping on to. It's not him. Another example where it's not really color based is The Witcher.
Yeah,
I hated that I still do. I actually haven't watched the episode of The Witcher since they took off Henry Cavill.
Oh, it hasn't dropped yet.
Well, I think it has.
Has it?
With Liam?
Yeah, it hasn't dropped yet.
You sure?
I'm positive because I'm all about that shit. Whoa, watch where you're going.
Watch where.
I'm super into that show.
Okay,
too.
well, hopefully by the time I'll come around.
But that speaks to it. The fact that you didn't know, you're like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I don't care if it comes out.
Yeah, if it comes out, it comes out. That's super interesting. Like with Snape too, that you being able to identify or self-actualize that, because for me, having read the books too, I didn't want another Alan Rickman. The fact that everyone was saying, oh, we should get why am I blanking? Kylo Ren, Adam Driver.
Yeah.
We should get Adam Driver. He looks like, he sounds, he could pull off the, and Benedict Cumberbatch can also do the voice. He can mimic his voice perfectly. But I'm like, that was what Alan brought to the character.
Right.
So you're mimicking now not Snape.
Yeah.
But Alan.
Yeah, and we don't want another.
We don't want another Alan.
We were very much
be,
content. Yeah,
you can't be Alan. Yeah.
It's impossible.
So I like the fact that I think there's some wiggle room. I think because Snape in the books, I always felt like he was a little bit more slimy.
Yeah, he definitely was.
So there is that.
Which is why the the twist of him being in love with the mom and actually protecting Harry was so much more impactful in the books than in the movies, because they do such a great job of getting you to hate Snape, because he was just like, he was an awesome character to read. Every year you just knew it was gonna be some shit with him, but then you realize, like, man, he's great. He's probably the best character in the whole book. Yeah. As a whole.
No spoilers on him. I won't go ahead and ruin Harry Potter for
30
you.
years late.
Yeah. My sister just read it.
No way.
She just finished all 7. She just finished.
We have to when we go through Harry Potter, we have to have her on.
Yeah.
I would love to like get an adult's mind point of view.
I can show you the family messenger group of when each character or when specific characters had some events happen to them. Yeah. And all of us knew it was coming. My nephew said specifically in one of the books, "Let me know when you get to this page. I want to watch."
That's great. That's great.
It's my favorite. I was like, oh my gosh. God. Anyway, so yeah. Yeah, this is it's definitely not a buddy comedy.
No.
But their dynamic is enjoyable because you definitely have a straight man. And not pun intended. Like as far as comedy, you have a straight man. And then Buddy Lee being Ike, and then Buddy Lee is, the happy-go-lucky.
Yeah, he's the relief.
Which is a nice segue.
He's my favorite character in the book.
Oh, absolutely.
Buddy Lee is by far my favorite character. Yeah.
It was a nice segue into our next one, which is fan casting.
Okay.
So it's funny because I think Smitty, no, someone else on TikTok had said, oh, if you love like Denzel films, if you love like Training Day, if you love, and they started listing them all off, like this is, so I get the caliber of, I'm gonna go with Ike first. Let's talk about Ike.
Yeah.
I get of wanting someone of Denzel's caliber playing Ike. Unfortunately, Ike is a big man.
Yeah, he's huge.
Huge, strong, not kind in the face.
No.
So that's the thing is like you have plenty of people that are like, oh, Terry Crews is big, but he exudes brightness. Like he's a light to him.
Yeah, he's so.
And you can't unsee that. I'm sure if he did like I'm sure he could prove us wrong. But so
when
far,
he was Damon in Friday,
yeah.
But that's as deep as it goes. And that was comical still.
Yeah, absolutely. See, I would even go if we go back to Friday, I would go Debo.
Ike is more Debo.
Yeah, Ike is definitely more
Damon.
Debo.
Yeah.
Even though we also have seen Debo on like next Friday, and we see him in like the goofy stuff. Yeah. So there you do play that line. I'm not going to say the people that I fan cast don't have those, but they've also shown us an edge that you can play. So size wise, obviously, and then you have to play age too. So you have some young guns that I'm like, oh yeah, sure, down the road they could probably put on some build and play this.
Yeah.
But the person that I immediately thought of was Idris Elba. Ooh. Because of the age and because of the size.
And he has the acting chops.
And he is exactly.
Yeah, The Wire.
He's that caliber.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. He's The Wire. He has American Gangster. Yeah. He had, but it's, I guess specifically in The Wire where he's like playing the tougher side of it.
Yeah.
I thought about him or, I should have looked up his name, especially as a fellow actor. Luke Cage.
Oh, what's his name?
He's the only other one.
He's good.
That I know, right?
Oh, that's a good one. I didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's great.
There's definitely guys from the past. I'm just saying those that are active and those are currently at the age or can be played up to that age.
Yeah.
Because I think if you went back in the day and you could go with like a Lawrence Fishburne.
You stole mine.
Is that who it was?
Fucker. Yes.
Yeah, my bad.
So the first person I thought about was Lawrence Fishburne, and that's only because the depth of the character.
Yeah.
So Lawrence Fishburne's character in Boys in the Hood
mm-hmm.
it was a straight shooter. right? Like, I'm a father first. I'm a hard worker. I'm gonna teach you how to be this as a black man. This is what you go through, and that's his character. And so when I was reading through this, that's the person I thought about. Although he's not like this hulking figure, I think that he has the acting capabilities to bring out the depth of the character that Ike is, versus like a Terry Crews, where he has the physicality, but he probably would miss in the, like, we wouldn't be able to see Ike, the layers that Ike has.
Yeah,
right?
and that could be just as much on us.
Yeah,
Like I don't want to put that.
yeah.
On
It's not his acting skills.
Yeah, it's just because of what he's given us so far.
Yeah,
And because of what he's rightfully so painted himself into a corner in a great way.
Yeah.
But
so this is, I'm never, I think that acting is one of the hardest things you can do. So I'm never shitting on any actor. Yeah. But sometimes when you see an actor, that's all you can. So like Denzel is Denzel in every role he's ever done. Lawrence Fishburne, he becomes the character. Like him in Boys in the Hood, he becomes that. Him in The Matrix, Morpheus, he becomes that. Him in he has 2 Space Odyssey movies. But he's that, like he's the captain, like, and actually in both of those he was the captain. Name a movie and like he becomes that character. And there's an interview that he did for Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and they talk about that a little bit. And he talks about he's a classically trained actor, and he enjoys like plays and stuff like that because the depth of character that you get to play. And I think that some actors and actresses, I say actors is plural, I'm really talking about both. I actually don't know what the marker is where some people are able to become the character. Like Heath Ledger became a Joker. Yeah. He's a completely different person in Brokeback Mountain. Right? Like
10 Things I Hate About You.
10 Things I Hate About You. Like, so,
you wouldn't think that kid was the Joker.
Right. And it doesn't have to be like a serious movie. If I do some comedies, Steve Carell in A 40-Year-Old Virgin is very different than him in The Office in terms of like, this is a whole new character. I don't think about him being that same person.
Or Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey is a great example. He's
Robin Williams
and Jack. Obviously, he played a young kid, but the ability to play a kid that's in an older man's body, Bicentennial Man.
What Dreams May Come. That is one of my top tier.
Jack. I'll say Jack. I'm sorry.
Hook.
Yeah. Hook. You read my mind. You read my mind. You read my mind. Yeah. So I think that I don't know what the mark is of the actors who are able to become that, but I think from the outside looking in, I can appreciate the skill of that. And when I read it, Lawrence Fishburne was the first person that popped up. If I had to think about someone else, I honestly couldn't. Like, he's the person I picture in my mind's eye when I read the book.
Yeah, which is why I said it.
But I don't.
What do you think about rest in peace? But Michael Wallace? No, Green Mile.
Oh,
do you think he would have been able to pull it? Yeah, right. I mean, his size alone, yes.
Size.
I wanted to say Douglas. Just because of out of respect, I want to make sure.
Yeah, sorry guys, we're going to the digital.
I also just saw that my
the time is up. If your time is up, my time is up too.
Yeah, it was up by a bit. Street parking, guys.
Hey. So yes, I agree. While we're updating our parking, I agree that he would have absolutely been able to crush this role. He has with Green Mile, and even was it Forrest Gump? Was he in Forrest Gump? Who's in Forrest Gump? Who's the guy in Forrest Gump then?
Bubba?
Who's Bubba?
I don't know. I think Bubba was in Air Force One.
He's in Air Force One.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, guys, I'm mixing up my black.
Who's
characters.
also in? Yeah, I'm seeing like now his face is flashing everywhere.
The guy in ATL. Have you ever seen ATL? Yeah. The uncle.
Gotcha. Yeah.
He can also play Ike. He has a southern, accent down.
Michael Clark Duncan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I agree. Michael Clark Duncan would be great because he has a size and he has that, when you look at him unspoken, he has the unspoken, the intangibles. In terms of like, can I see him doing all the, actually, yes. Yeah, he can totally do it. I think that.
Wait, which uncle are you talking about in ATL? Are you talking about Keith David?
Yes.
Okay.
No. Yes. Yeah. No. That's Nunu's dad. I wasn't talking about him, but he could do it too. I'm talking about the uncle. What's his name? The main character's uncle. T.I.'s uncle. He's not on there. He's not on IMDb.
He probably is, but half their pictures are taken.
Because like with named actors, it's a little bit hard, but. Cause I'm horrible at names, which you guys will see. But anyways, yes. ATL for sure. Nunu's dad would be awesome. He does, yes, for sure. Yeah. I can totally see him as the dad.
I was like, Michael, I remember, so Green, I thought I had one more besides.
I actually don't think that Ike's character is the most important casting.
No.
I think that Buddy Lee is more important. I think that he's a more important character to the casting right. You can put anyone in Ike's place, whether they look intimidating or not, whether they have the deep acting chops or not. And the more important one is Buddy Lee because he helps the story progress in so many different ways.
I think if the last person that I thought of for Ike, I think if the only factor that we wouldn't be able to cast him is because of height, it's probably Robert Downey Jr.
Absolutely, I agree. I have to agree. Yo, on one day we should do a breakdown of Tropic Thunder.
Oh,
and I'm gonna invite all the homies just so you can see like how crazy. Like I remember we watched this movie. We went to the movies to see it, and we went back maybe 2 other times. Survive. It was, and now that we're older and like the internet's everywhere, you used to watch all like the BTS and like the clips of him. He was in that character the whole time.
Yeah.
And Robert Downey Jr. I just want to let you know.
Character until what was it? Until the commentary is out on DVD or whatever. Like I can't keep the exact line.
You became a household gentleman in black households.
I'm gonna get you back.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get you back. Yeah. Oh man.
Amazing.
Anyway, sorry. Yes, I do. I absolutely agree.
Robert Downey Jr.
I absolutely agree that Buddy Lee's casting would be probably.
It's the key casting.
It's very. I went first on this. I do have 2 very specific ones.
Yeah. Let's see.
No, you go ahead. Do you not have someone?
The only person I thought about was I
feel like we're gonna.
Once again, I'm bad at names, but 7 Pounds, Zombieland.
Oh, Woody Harrelson. Absolutely, that is someone I thought of. Yeah. That is definitely. It's not one of the 2, but that is definitely someone who I would still say yes.
Yes. He was that was Buddy Lee.
Do you think McConaughey could do it?
Yes,
I think so.
Can
too,
he do
right?
it? Yes.
Yeah.
And I like his comedy because some people, you look at them and because I guess you've seen other things like they're funny, they're a comedian. McConaughey doesn't come off as funny, but he's funny.
Yeah, which is funny because he started off as like rom-com guy and then he's transitioned into
these serious roles.
Serious roles.
But he's actually really funny. Like I can see that. Yeah.
My 2 were, and they've played racists in the past.
Yeah.
So
Christopher Waltz.
No, I do love him though. I would still watch it either way. Walter Goggins, who's having his moment right now.
Yeah.
Good of Django, to Django. And then my first choice actually before that was Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell.
He also Green Mile.
Okay.
Also, he's in
Sorry,
look
guys,
him up. Look him up.
I'm shitty at names, so
He
let's
is
do
in
this.
literally everything.
Name sounds super familiar.
He was just
Sam
he was also just in
Rockwell.
the new White Lotus as well.
Yes. Wow.
Right?
Wow. He's a great actor.
He's an amazing actor.
He's a great actor.
And I know this is gonna be like, oh, I don't like talking about the craft or whatever. He is an actor's actor. He is
an
someone.
awesome actor.
Yeah, absolutely. He
Yes.
pulls every heartstring and pushes you in every direction. He was also in, as I've said in a previous episode, when I decided to pursue acting.
Yeah.
It was I keep saying Green Mile in every episode because it was paramount in my upbringing as far as understanding performing arts and everything. Just because
Amazing
I
movie.
hated the guard
Amazing
and
movie.
realized that that's what acting is. But same with Sam Rockwell. I was like, oh, you hated his character.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see him in another movie and you're like, I love his character in that movie. Like, oh, it's just this guy knows how to sell.
Yeah.
You know, he can sell anything.
He's an actor. Like, yes.
Embodies it.
He embodies it.
Those are my two. There is, I think, out of just interest, there's definitely many more people that could do it.
Yeah.
I think let me just make sure.
I have another one. Hold on. Let me just make sure I have his name right, because I get him mixed up with this other guy all the time.
Mine is Andrew Scott.
Andrew Scott. Who's that?
He's a British actor. Love him to death. He was in Fleabag. He was in Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch. He was Moriarty.
Yeah. Great.
Phenomenal.
I loved him as Moriarty.
Yes.
Yes.
So with his range,
Yeah.
he is also someone who performed Shakespeare, and it's not that.
Well, he's British. They're all classically
But
trained.
for that reason, I say, like, I can watch Macbeth. I still haven't watched Denzel's, but I have watched Shakespeare, and it's not for me, and I'll be dragged for that. It's just not for me. But when he performed To Be or Not to Be, it definitely like sent me where I was just like, I feel this.
Yeah.
This stirs, emotion. This provokes something in me.
Yeah.
Opposed to every other time, I'm just like, oh, okay, this is Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
This is that thing. So anyway, sorry. And then who's your other one?
Gary Cole.
Let me see this guy.
Talladega Nights. The dad in
Oh my
Talladega
gosh.
Nights.
Yeah. That's so funny. He's one of those, I say an actor's actor, and then he's very much so the same thing.
Yeah.
Actor's actor in literally everything and every level of the industry too, whether it be an indie up to a box office, he works in all of them. And I think it's probably because he is loved by so many. And he's such a character actor, in such a beautiful way. So yeah, I love that.
I think he would do great. So those are my two.
And that
Woody
age,
Harrelson and Gary Cole.
perfect.
And because the comedy has to be like natural. Like I really do think that this is the most important character out of everyone. I think that Buddy Lee is very important, and what's her name?
Tangerine.
Yeah,
I was gonna say. That's what I literally, when you said it's the most important, I was like the only second to. I mean, not second to. I think the second would be Tangerine. Yeah, absolutely.
for sure. If you get those two right, everyone else kind of fills in. Get Loretta Devine to play Meyer or something. I'll put her in anyway. Loretta Devine. She has no kids. She always playing a mom, but she has no kids.
That's nuts.
That's crazy. But that's great. I love that. The casting thing.
Alrighty. This is the section that so Christiana's going into this blind. I somewhat am. I do know what we're going into, but it's not. I did us the favor. We'll see if it's a favor.
We'll see.
Not preparing my answers or even the thoughts behind it. I created this and then decided, So a thing with our podcast, we are, we're one of many. I hear there's other podcasts out there.
Really? We're not the
A
first.
handful. We're not breaking new ground here. But when it came to that, like especially with books in general, book talk, book podcast, book everything has been popping off in the last couple of years, beautifully. So
I love that though.
Yeah, me too. So how do we? It's not so much an ego that I want to make sure that it's our voice that's coming through. It's just also out of like not making people bored out of their mind when they're listening to these episodes. You know,
Right.
I was explaining to Chris that like there's other podcasters, other content creators that I love to listen to, but I think I love to listen to it because it's their take, it's their life. So Cristiano and I, as we've said, we're fathers. We love literature, we love anime, we love storytelling, we love
Movies,
writing, we love movies. We're both in our, you want to guess? I know you thought 20s, maybe early 20s, but we're in our 30s. With kiddos.
Yep.
And one of our favorite things is, you know, talking. We aren't talking about like, we're not quoting, you know, Marcus Aurelius every day. We aren't talking about Stoicism. Not that we can't, we could.
Do that too.
But that's not our Roman Empire. We want to make sure that, you know, what we give is something we enjoy doing, which is we like to pick each other's brains, as you've probably been able to tell in this episode alone. So I've come up with a section which is called Hard Questions, Real Talk. We have 5 questions.
Okay.
These questions can be interchanged into any book.
Okay.
So if we don't like one, if you guys don't like one, if you feel like there's something better, we can definitely move on from it, or change them out, find something better. But we have done like grading systems, which I'm still always down to do. But this was something that as I was laying in bed the other night, I was like, oh, how nice would it be? I don't know about nice, but how instead of a grading scale, we answer these questions for each of the books, because it's going to be a different answer. It's not going to be X amount of stars or X amount of whatever. So
Right.
let's start it off.
Let's jump in.
First question: what did this book make you realize you've been lying to yourself about? Interesting. If as we think about it.
Yeah, I like that because it gives you a more personal. If you didn't read the book and have like some kind of personal thoughts about it, this is your chance to kind of delve into to that. So let me think.
I'm just thinking about the example you just gave of Snape. Like that was a moment of okay, was it the fact, you know, was it Alan that you're, was it the fact that, you know, the new actor is black? What is it that, you know, you were telling yourself?
Yeah. That's actually a really good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you prefer that we stew on that, or do you want me to go through them and then we go back to the top, or do you want to go one by one?
Let's go one by one.
Let's go one by one.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's keep it that.
So you want me to go first, or you want to go first?
If you have one, then yeah, go for it.
I could come up with something. So what's one thing the book made me realize that I've been lying to myself about, other than the whole, not gonna say natural, but the dislike of where there's like a dissonance, you know, where I'm like, oh, I think this character should be like this, and since it's not, I feel differently about this book. So other than that, I would say, I'm not gonna say, I don't know if it was me lying to myself about, but I've thought about this before because there's some discourse about it where people bring up the similarities or the differences in being gay or being black and what's more difficult. So there's a lot of discourse about that, you know, in a black culture. And, you know, obviously I'm black. I grew up black and I have like a very Hispanic name. So a lot of people have like an initial reaction. Like there's times where people come up and like, I didn't know you were black. You know, or I saw your name, I didn't know you were black. And then you immediately start looking at like their reaction to see if they act differently and all sorts of stuff, or someone locking the door when you walk past, or people crossing the street, or grabbing their kids, and whatever the case may be that happens when you're black, and you're just like, okay, no problem. I never really, I guess I didn't have enough insight to think that being gay was just as hard as being black, or it being similar, to be honest. Like, so I always thought that it would. I know, obviously, I know it's difficult, but I never thought it would be. There would be so many similarities. And one thing that this book does well is put you in all of these shoes. Even not just in being black or being gay, but for example, one big thing in the book, which I'm not trying to spoil anything, but there's a character who has feelings for someone in the book, and there's one person who has feelings for the character in the book, and he basically shows it. He comes to terms with it and he shows it, and the other one has feelings and is basically lying about it to himself, to his family, to everyone. The only person he's not lying about it with is to the person, directly to the person. And I like that this book engages so deeply with these thoughts, because on initial thought, you think that everyone deals with these things in similar ways. And I guess the part that I was lying to myself about was that they weren't that deep, or it wasn't that serious, or it's not the same. It's not the same level of, I'm not gonna say tragedy, but hurt or discomfort or whatever that, whatever you want to put on it, that people deal with being black or gay or trans, or just that feeling of being othered, where you're not accepted by, or you're afraid to be something because other people are going to point or look or talk, or sometimes it's not that it's that you think people will. It's not even that people will. So very long-winded answer, but that's
what I want.
Yeah, that's kind of one thing that I really had like a lot of retrospection about.
I was just, I guess, not to put a pin in it. Did the quote that you were talking about that is said at the end, did it have anything to do with that?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I think there's a quote in here later on that talks about, again. Oh, I didn't take it out, but I think I saw it on Goodreads. Anyway, for me, I think a lot of it, looking at how Ike's not performative.
No. Yeah. He's not.
He's not performative, but there is his drive as to why is
he wants to be better.
He does want to be better. I'm saying, let's say, I should be specific. He wants to be better in general. He wants to be, do you also feel that way about out of prison? Kind of what we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Yes, too?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I also feel like there's at least what I felt with it was that there's because of his knowledge, his is at least from experience where mine isn't, where, you get along and that way you don't, So I with him doing these things, there's a lot of times I feel like if you not so much put your head down and do the work or whatever, like nothing like that, but it seems like if I do X, Y, and Z, then I won't be seen as other.
Right. Right.
Which is super unfortunate. It's like, especially coming from, I'm a mutt when it comes to my ethnicity. But growing up Polynesian, white, and even within there, I'm Samoan, Māori, and then on my white side, German, Welsh, English, Scottish, all these things. And because of that, I think growing up first in San Diego and then moving up to Murrieta, where it was generally white.
Yeah.
So being first all Mexican, Filipino, Polynesian in San Diego, and then moving up to Murrieta, and it was white and other.
Right.
Whereas very clearly I was a minority.
Yeah.
So it was a lot easier for me to disregard or distinguish myself as like, oh, but I'm not that Polynesian, or I'm not, especially when it came to like meeting parents of, you know, people that not only just people that you're dating or anything, but just friends, parents, where it's like, how can I make you the most comfortable?
Right. And conformity is one of the ways that you can do it. I totally, that's a good answer.
So that's why I was like, it's something that obviously I wasn't the first person, but it was definitely a pretty clear reminder, because there's still things that I do. And it's just like, you know, there's deprogramming that I have to do where it's like, you know, don't say your name. Or like if my cousin called out a fellow Polynesian a couple weeks ago who was like, oh, how do you, and my first name's not Polynesian, it's with it being Stranton. But the guy was like, oh, Stranton. And I was like, yeah, sure. It's whatever, you know. And my cousin's like, no, not straight in, it's Stranton. And I was like, my younger cousin too, but he had my back, and I was like, thank you. Like, thank you for having my back when I don't have my own back, you know? But yeah, I think there's that, like, where
you don't want to be abrasive. You don't want to be, that's a great answer. That's an awesome answer. And for me, hopefully I'm not coattailing you here, but even for me, like when you first start talking about it, I start thinking, I still do that, you know, like at work. I know so much more and I do so much. And although on the inside, I'm like, man, I really would like more recognition, or I want this. And then eventually, like, what I think about, I'm like, well, did I set myself up for that, or do I just get along? I'm just like, to make everyone feel comfortable, I act like I don't like, and I'll do this not just at work, but even in my personal life. But this is something I brought up to Naya as well, where I'm like, there's things that I'll know, and I'm just like, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to let you act it out or go through it, because I don't want to sound like a know-it-all. I don't want to. I don't want my experience to encroach on your experience. And since we're in this interconnected world where like that can easily happen, I hang back. So like, this is a true story. Most of my friends didn't know I was in foster care until it's probably like 20. I had like 25, 26.
So well out of it.
Well out of it.
Yeah.
And they knew me while I was in foster care. They didn't know I was in foster care. And the reason why, one of the main reasons why is, and I kind of explained this to some of them, I didn't want my difficult life that I had, because not just I was in foster care, I was homeless, I did all this stuff. I was getting in trouble, I wasn't getting in trouble, I was going through a lot, you know, not fighting. You don't always live with the nicest people, you know, in foster care. Yeah. I lived in homes where I was done with a lot of things. And I never spoke to anyone about it. You know, like there's things that only Naya knows. There's things that Naya doesn't know. There's things that it's like you let certain people in on certain parts of your life. And what I realized, and which is brought up in this book, was that for me, I don't want the things I've been through to overshadow what someone else does, or not just overshadow, but encroach on their thinking or their experience of me.
That's what I'm glad you got to that point, because that's what I was going to say. You don't want them to see you other than what you have become.
Right.
Or what you're projecting you are.
Right.
Because no matter what you say.
Yeah.
That's what made you.
Yeah.
And those things needed to happen, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Not in like, good thing you went through that. Not at all.
Yeah.
But it did happen, and still you stand.
Yeah, exactly. You know? There's a less spoken about, because I think this is something that people probably do deal with, you know, whether it's therapy or close friends or something, but less spoken about is it shouldn't be so difficult to interact with this, because there's a pride in who you are and what you've been through, and having to have been through it. And I think that, myself included, you, everyone, we should take more pride and wear it on our sleeves more, because the expectation is still there. Like, you still, even if you don't project it or say it, internally you'll still be like, man, like, for example, with work, I'm like, man, like, I deserve more appreciation for what I'm doing. Although I'm not saying it, I'm going to work just as hard, you know, no problem. But internally, I'm just like, and then Naya will say something like, well, why didn't you just tell her? You should tell her. You should say something. And I'm just like, that's just not who I am. Mm-hmm. And all at the same time, I know that like people can't read your mind, and no one's supposed to read your mind. But if there's a juxtaposition there, two sides of the same coin, where you don't want to let people know, or you don't, not that you don't want them to know, but you don't want to encroach who you are on other people or to affect their point of view of you. But at the same time, you want people to understand you at a depth that you're maybe not letting them understand you at.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and not everyone gets that. Yeah. I mean, not everyone gets to have that experience of you.
Right.
So I get using it in the sense of not using it, but protecting it, and shielding it off from some people, because some people aren't, they're going to be surface relationships. As much as I hate those, I've now, as time's gone by, I'm like, there's only so much of me.
Yeah.
And it's not for everyone.
Right.
I can't give myself to everyone,
Exactly.
I do. If there's anything in this life as far as collecting, and it's not like I'm collecting friends, but not even my hobby, my passion is definitely investing my time in my friends. So if I have called you mine, I at least try my best to make sure that I do check-ins, I do whatever, because that's what my thing is. Like, sure, I do acting, I do all that, but it's something that I'm passionate about. Is my like, Rachel's always like, you have like 10, 12 best friends. I was like, yeah, just because that's my currency.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way.
So
yeah, absolutely.
So that's why I mean, that's what, not everyone gets it, because I'm not going to let them have that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it would make it a lot easier if we did pride ourselves in the journey that got us there, as far as like who we've become, or whatever it may be, whether it be like, hey, I hit the gym for this long, and you decide not to tell people like it took me this long, or I had to cut all of this out, instead of just being like, yeah, I worked my butt off, I got here, and that's it. Because as soon as you started saying like, hey, I had those hard days too, I didn't want to do this 2 days, or I didn't want to, write 10 pages a day until I got my writing down, or whatever it may be. It's nice to hear, that there was a journey, and that it wasn't just an overnight thing.
One of my favorite things that I do actively do, and that I love talking about, even to strangers and to people, close friends. So I went through, still am going through a lot of stuff, but there was a period in my life where I didn't know depression was real. Like, this is something that a lot of people can probably, say that for themselves as well. Yeah,
absolutely.
I know depression was real, but then I went through this period in my life where I feel like life was beating my ass, and it did not give me a break, like, whatsoever. And it was kind of like a movie in terms of how bad things were. So I get into a school. So I was a shitty kid, short version, shitty kid. Got kicked out of school, expelled out of every grade. Finally, get a high school diploma, late, but got it. Went to JC. I was like, let me take this shit serious. Had amazing grades, played sports, started programs like BSU, all sorts of stuff. Got into a bunch of different colleges. Went to the furthest one because the fuck, who'd have thought? Like, who'd have thunk it, and totally overestimated life, because I had no idea what what was in store. I have no foundation to like go overseas. Going to college down the street would have been difficult for me. So me going to college overseas, I completely overestimated how difficult it was. In my first week, they told me to go home. The finance people, I was like, oh, you can't afford this, because my scholarships don't transfer overseas. So I had all these academic scholarships and sports also, and they didn't transfer. So while I thought I was going to school for free, when I got there, I had this huge ticket that I had to pay, and the guy, I'll never forget him, he was like, oh yeah, you go home. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you can't afford to be here. You should go home. And so I remember being so pissed. I was so pissed. And this is still when I was still a bit arrogant. So I'm like, fuck him. I'm going to show him. So I made great friends, and, friends were offering me, talking to their parents. Their parents offered me positions and stuff like that. Eventually I found a job that I found, and I worked it, and I built my way up, and I built great relationships, and I helped other people get jobs. I did all sorts of stuff. That's a short version of it. And I remember coming back to that guy when the week I was graduating, and I didn't know how much fury I still had. When I walked in, I was hot. I can feel it coming off of me. Because it wasn't just that week. Every time he saw me, every time we met, every time I had to pay him, I had to pay tuition, every 4 months or so. And it was hard. I really couldn't afford to be there. And it was difficult. And it was probably the hardest thing I ever did. And then I had my family were passing away. I couldn't afford to go home. So while everyone else was leaving for holidays, I'm literally staying by myself. And sometimes I didn't have anywhere to stay. Sometimes, and then I told my dean, I was like, hey, if I don't have anywhere to stay, I'm going to have to go home. And she spoke to the head of the college, and they was like, okay, you can stay here. Got a job on campus, had another job off campus, just set me up to where I was like, oh, I can actually do this. Mm-hmm. And then, rates go up, I'm still can't afford it. And so every time I speak to him, he's like, man, you can't afford it. You can't, I don't know why you're doing this to yourself. It's, just go home, cut your losses. And long story short, the last week of school, I come up and I go in there and I think I'm going to be on my high horse because now I've learned so much. I've been through so much. I've been the worst depression you ever felt. Like, I've been in the worst part of depression ever. One of my best friends, she's like, the thing about depression, it never leaves you. It's like a hole that, it's like a shadow that's always there. And I remember telling her, I was like, bet. That's literally what I was like, bet. I can beat anything. I've been through enough things to where I can beat anything. And there's no way I can walk around feeling like how I feel now. Mm-hmm. Like, I had probably some of the worst depression you can. It gave me alopecia, where I had beautiful long hair. You guys should see the pictures. Great long hair. And I lost all of it. And I documented it, on pictures and stuff. And alopecia is still something I deal with because, and I got really sick. So, it became physical. It was a mental thing that became physical because I was so fucked up. And this guy, he just didn't help. I don't know if he ever knew how much what he was saying didn't help, but I remember being so mad when I walked in, and I didn't have to do this, but when I walked in and gave my final payment, I was like, I told you I was gonna make it. And he was like, what? I was like, I fucking told you. And I was like, I didn't realize how mad I still was. And his response was to get mad back at me. He's like, well, yeah. Well, little did you know, I was trying to help you, and you probably had such a difficult time. And I remember standing up, and he said something, and I remember I was like, take it back. That's literally what I told him. I was like, take it back, and I'm fuming. I'm fucking furious. And, I don't really remember if he ever took it back at this point because I was seeing red, if I'm being completely honest. I was seeing red, and I remember I just left, and I was like, I never want to see this fucking guy again. And now I'm adult enough where I'm I would love to have a conversation so I can kind of see his mental, where do you get in telling someone who's already dealing with a million things and you drop that on them. But anyways, super big digression, but it's interesting to hear your point of view on being performative and allowing people to get in on the depths of what's you, because a part of the weight that you deal with, especially for people who go through a lot of depression, this is a huge part of it. A huge part of anyone's depression is not being comfortable with who they are, or not feeling like they can perform who they are without someone else being disappointed or having thoughts about it that they themselves wouldn't be comfortable with. And I think that I'm glad that you brought that up. I really like your answer to that first question. I think that it's super important conversation. Sorry guys, that was long, but very, very important conversation.
Deal with it. Zolof's my go-to for my general anxiety disorder and my depression and my therapy as well. Yeah. As we're a big therapy fan here. So there are 4 more questions.
Let's push through them. We can do it quickly.
Okay. Where in your life does this book hit too close to home? And how are you actually handling that?
We kind of been touching on this already.
We have. Yeah. So I'm good with that. Yeah. This is the other thing. And again, you guys are going to be here while we're figuring out how this podcast is going to work and everything. The thing that as we're reading through this, obviously sometimes it's going to provoke not good response, but I'll say a long form response. Other times it won't. So I think sometimes we could always do all 5.
Yeah.
There's other times where we could be like, oh, let's pull from the question bag or from the 5.
Yeah.
Which one does this one fall on?
The reason why I wanted to go through all 5 today
just to present
is
them.
because to present them, and I'm really interested to hear our listeners' perspectives on it.
That's good.
I think that a huge part of the discourse that we'll be taking part of is not just us two, but also I call it spiritual thinking. It's something that I came up with years ago. I love to hear other people's fractals of thinking because it helps me build a bigger picture of what life really is or feels like, So that's why I really, even if we do short answers, long answers, I really want to go through all 5 because I'm super interested to hear everyone else's perspectives on these questions.
I feel like because we did long form for the first one, I think that answers a lot of the second one, unless you have something.
No, we can push.
You good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 3. Which part of this book called you out? And were you ready for it or did you dodge it?
Which part of this book? I'll let you go first on this one.
I think one of the parts that called me out, there's a scene where Ike is meeting with a former associate, a former colleague, a former acquaintance, and it happens to be in a barbershop. And barbershop talk, for anyone who grew up in the barbershop or around barbershops, it's where, guys will be guys and things will be said, and you either go with it, and if you go against it, you're going to be the talking point. So it's a lot easier to chime in support of what's being said, opposed to calling someone out on their bullshit. And I think, not that I'm even in barbershops often, but because of how that scene plays, it does make me reflect heavily on, friends groups. Growing up in, those different areas I've been, I also lived quite a bit of time in Arizona as well. Very heavy, Arizona. Right wing, sometime in Utah as well.
Yeah.
So, leaning one way more than the other. Plenty of opportunity here
to call someone out.
Out.
Yeah.
And not that I'm going to use this podcast to be my, repentance or opportunity to, say, but that's definitely what sparked immediately in my mind of, how can I be more of an ally in those moments?
Right.
Whether it be for my, my friends in the queer community or in any, also on the racial spectrum, or literally in anything, when can I go against, when do I need to make sure I'm going against the grain of, the everyday, because it is a lot easier to drop your head down. It's a lot easier to, just, because even
versus being that what you might view as confrontation.
Yeah. Because even accepting it, and I'm sure there's a specific quote, I think, that, just accepting or not saying anything is also being supportive of what's being said about whatever denomination is being made fun of. So
absolutely.
That was something that came out for me.
For me, it's a bit more, I don't know. I'm not gonna say more. It's not more of anything.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that comes to mind was his relationship with his son.
Yeah.
Because I'm a dad, and as you are too,
mm-hmm.
I'm always super in my mind on am I doing this right?
Yeah.
So his relationship with his dad, his relationship with his son, and he was trying to raise his son the best way that he knew. He also had a hard life, right? everyone's their own main character. So his son Isaiah is a main character to Isaiah, and then Ike is a main character to Ike. And Ike was doing the best that he could at that moment, and although it wasn't enough, for him, that's what he can do, and that's how he showed his love. That's how he showed guidance, etc. And for me, when I read it, I was like, what are the areas I'm doing something like this, you know? And is it going to be a grand negative? Is it going to be a positive? Can I be more accepting of something, you know? So I think that's the one thing that I was like,
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. When I was watching one of the interviews with Cosby, S.A. Cosby, to be clear, very different. But he talked about because you know the term toxic masculinity. But he has one that I think he coined called tragic masculinity, where he described in an interview that it's the fact that Ike and Buddy and so many others that they can see the change that needs to be made. It's just outside of grasp. And it is, I'll be honest, when I was listening to the interview, I was like, so, I mean, if they know what's the right thing or what they should do, why can't they do it? And I know it's a lot easier, especially when it's been culturally or maybe just within your own home or with your family or however it is. I know it's a lot easier said than done. Right. I get that. But yeah, that was definitely something that when I heard that, I was like, oh, so do we fault him? Like how you were saying, like how can we fault him? But then you think of like the Maya Angelou quote, like, do your best until you know better and then do that.
Right.
You know, Ike knows what would be better. Yeah.
The other side of that, which I don't want to get deep into, we can move on after I say this, is that, and this is not devil's advocate, guys.
No, I just want to give
a different perspective.
I want to hear. That's what I'm wanting to hear. That's what I was hoping you would be able to.
So the different perspective in this is that it's hard enough being black, not just like black in like a world where other people, you know, some other minority might be superior to you or feel superior or actually might have more, whatever. Like fuck all that. Being black in black culture is its own microcosm of shit. You don't want to. Why exacerbate it by also adding this on? And that's Ike's
point of view.
That's his point of view.
To be clear.
Yes.
That is what that's
his point of view.
Because that is a very specific.
Yeah.
Let me see if I have that one. I don't think I do. Darn. I'll have to look it up. But that is a specific quote.
Yeah. Like, you're already black. It's that's difficult enough to also add on, you know, being gay or being trans or what add a tag to it. You become othered within your own group. So like the same thing that happened in a barbershop, how you have people talking about, if my son was gay, I'm gonna do it. These are real conversations. Yeah. Like I've heard them growing up as an adult, as a kid. I've heard them, you know. So I totally get both sides of this, where you're like, well, why would you do that to you? Why are you so close-minded? Why is it so difficult? Blah blah blah. But on the other side of it is like, I'm saving you from having a harder life, because the road you're trying to take is going to other you, and it's going to make you. You'll put yourself in a position that you don't want to be in. And so Ike, going back to what I said earlier, he's doing the best that he can with the knowledge that he has. So that's the other side of that. But once again, he does learn.
He does.
So
all right.
4. If you had to explain this book to your kid in 10 years, what would you say, and what would you leave out?
How do you feel about the leave out part of that? Is it because of his age, or is it?
Yeah, because when you're younger, you feel like you have to protect them from certain things until they get to a certain age. They're gonna encounter them anyway. Yeah. So yeah, I think that the leave out part is more about age than anything else. For me, if I had to explain this book to my kid in 10 years, it depends on which point of view I'm trying to go for. If I'm going for like more of like, hey, you got to read this because it's like, it's, you know, if you like thrillers, like crime, it has all that stuff, like the pop culture aspect of it, you can also take that path. But most likely I would go on like the more cultural, interpersonal stuff. I would talk to them about taking notes or just really taking in the aspect of the difference in culture, cultural understanding, fatherhood, motherhood, right? Because Maya is also a big part of this. Being a good husband, being a good father, being a good neighbor. Like, I think that a lot of the stronger POVs and that you know, the author Cosby wanted people to take from this are all interpersonal. There's a great pop culture aspect of it, like yeah, you like crime, like thriller, yeah, it's all that. But I think that the interpersonal stuff that he put in there it's pretty big. So I think that's what I would want him to take from it. Leave out. I can't really say. I don't think there's anything I'll leave out. It's a really
That's an answer.
Yeah,
that's an answer. I think if I explain the book, I think for me, because there's so much to choose from.
Yeah.
But what rang true to me, which is actually the thing that comes through for most films, most books, and everything, is the importance of. And I know this is like watering it down, but really, truly a pillar in this, because you think how differently this book would have played out, is real communication.
Yeah.
You know, like let's bear it out. Whether you'd like to hear why I'm saying it, let's do it without not without reaction, because
even if I'm
welcome.
uncomfortable saying
Absolutely.
it, like let's still have that
Let's
conversation.
still say it, and let's make sure that even though it's said, you still know that I fucking love you.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. That's the biggest, hardest takeaway from this, is that Ike, at no point
before, during, and after he left this kid.
But his actions said otherwise.
Right.
And because of that, his son thought the whole time that my dad wants nothing to do. I don't think there was a thing. I'm sure maybe there's an underlining feeling that Isaiah was like, oh, my dad still loves me. But I don't think so, because there was
the fact that he kept trying.
Yeah.
He tried. You don't try to share your happiness with people that you think are a lost cause.
No.
And up until he was an adult, until he got married, he wanted to share that with his dad. I think that was his.
I don't think you do, but I do. I know that there have been times where I've definitely wasted, time on people that I didn't need to.
Yeah, that happens.
Where
I don't think that's a waste though. I think that on like a more personal scale, it's almost like a proving ground of like how solid you are as a person.
Yes.
Because sometimes it just comes down to that. It's if it's not about someone else, you can bring it back down to like how this has now built you up or brought you down. And to further what you were saying, like I think that almost even more important aspect of that, the extension of your argument on this is that it's if someone says something you don't like or they have POV that you don't like, you don't have to flip out about it.
No.
You don't have to like, well, I don't fucking want to ever talk to you or anyone like you or anyone that looks like. There's a middle ground where if you can find a level of understanding, do, but if you don't, agree to disagree and move on. Understand that it's not life or death to disagree with someone. Like you can totally have different points of views. Life goes on. You will find your own circle. Like one of the stories within a circle, one of the stories within the story here is that Isaiah and Derek, the two sons, they're gay and their fathers don't accept them, but they found their own group. Yeah,
they found their own family, their own community that loved them, supported them.
Yeah. You don't ever have to feel any way that someone comes at you. So if you meet someone and, for example, that they're racist or they're whatever, you put a name to it, right? And they they give you shit. It's your boss, and you don't like the way they talk to you. You don't like the way they don't appreciate your shit or whatever. They don't appreciate your work.
Yeah, they don't pay enough.
You don't have to feel they don't pay. You don't have to feel any kind of way about them. It's okay to have a disagreement. Yeah. And I think that as humans, because we rule our spectrum, like if we look at cats, there's a million different kind of cats. Look at monkeys or at primates, there's a million different. We're the only kind of human left. And I think that because we rule our spectrum, we think that we have to go along to get along. Mm-hmm. In actuality, there is a middle ground where you can disagree or not have similar point of views, and it's okay. It's not world breaking.
Yeah. Unless it's about if my son's cute. If you disagree, you go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Number 5. Final one.
Yep.
What's one thing from this book you don't want to admit is true, but probably is?
For me, it's really easy. I don't want to think that people are as close-minded and not as accepting. Like, I was in my 20s when I realized, mind you, I've dealt with everything but before I was 20. But I was in my 20s when I realized that everyone didn't have the same amount of faith in other people that I had. Mm-hmm. And it kind of crushed me because you go from thinking that, oh, people just don't want to understand to where people are like, oh, no. They lived a life to where they were never put into a place to have to understand someone else. That's a much harder wall to break through or break down. Or for me, as the person who's understanding it, it's much harder to come to terms with because you're like, fuck. So many things have to happen right for them to actually for us to even come to terms. And that's when you have to be okay with, whatever, you have to be okay with like not having an agreement with a person. But that broke me down at first. Like when I was old, I was older at that point. I was in my 20s, my early 20s, when I realized like everyone doesn't think like you. Everyone hasn't been through the same things or not going to come to the same conclusion as you. You have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with someone else's point of view because this is the culmination of their thoughts and experiences. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's one thing from this book that I didn't want to admit was true is that how close-minded and how hateful, which I hate using that term because I don't like using that term, like hateful, because I don't think anyone's inherently hateful. Mm-hmm. I think that we are the building blocks of the environment that has built us. Like I'm huge on environmental determinism. So
reflection of our reality.
Yeah, that's one thing. What about you?
Funny, it goes hand in hand in the sense that I'll just say it's I don't know what I'm talking about, but that there's so many similarities between the different groups.
Yeah, it's the same coin.
And I'm not saying culturally. Let's be clear. I'm not saying black, but I'm saying of a person that you would think, oh, ex-convict that's gone through all this shit that has the family that looks like this, but oh man, they're not far off. There's the whole thing where it's like, oh, that person's just a couple bad days away from who I am currently.
Yeah, what is it called? 6 degrees of separation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which is So I think this definitely inherently like drove that home because so much of this, and it's not that I'm like, oh, I want to be like this like alpha thing. Like it's not like a testosterone driven thing, but I definitely want to. If you go into this book thinking like, oh, see, this is the dad this is because of the fury without any spoilers, but because of their actions afterwards. If you go like, oh, see, this is like good fatherhood. It's not. It's definitely it's their redemption or their attempt at redemption because of the way they acted as fathers.
Yeah, which is huge. Some of us never got that. Our fathers never got to the point where they understood that, like, oh shit, I'm doing things wrong. Mm-hmm. Let's fix that. Let's put some intentional effort into being better. So, I like that in this book.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Because you get, as someone who loves it, closure.
Yeah.
Or at least an eye into it,
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. So that was Hard Questions, Real Talk. Overall, how do you feel about that?
I love it.
I actually really enjoyed it. If you guys enjoyed it,
let us know.
Let us know. If you didn't, let us know.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. Still, let us know.
Please do.
Obviously, we'd love to fine tune this and get it going. Some of these questions, I feel like maybe it's just because we'll see what the next book, how it feels with them.
Yeah.
But some of them were a little bit close together, so I'll try to make them we'll try to make them distinguishable. But I really did like them, and I am now wanting to run them through previous books we've done.
I think that what I like about it is that it allows us to go through different things about the book, and it gives you slices of the characters, the storyline, the build up, etc., without us having like a structure. Chapter 1, chapter 2, this chapter 3. Blah, blah, blah,
and then it also is I'm going to bring it back around. A reflection of our reality. It makes us reflect on our own reality with these questions,
right?
Or with as far as this book,
which I hope would also happen to our listeners. Definitely. And we're like an hour and 40 minutes in, and it didn't feel like it. So
no, not at all. Not at all. Our listeners are like, oh, the fuck it doesn't. Plot. We do have plot beats and spoilers. So this is a spoiler section.
We've been doing so good in not spoiling.
Yeah.
This has been a great episode for not spoiling shit. Yeah. At least I'll say I have, because I'm the spoiler here. Mm-hmm. I'm doing a great job.
You
not
have.
Spoiling.
You
shit.
have.
All right.
There was one thing that you've said.
Look, hey. I've already done the pat on the back shit. Don't.
There was one thing you said, but it's fine. You weren't specific, and I think you caught yourself, and you decided to continue moving on. So I will say that. How are we on time as far as battery life on that laptop?
We're good. We have like another hour, which we won't go for an hour
on the laptop.
Yeah. We'll be good in like the next 20 minutes.
Okay,
minutes.
Cool. Yeah. Then with that said, spoilers. We're gonna put the timestamp on this it's gonna be a small bracket. But spoiler wise, some twists and turns. I will say, as far as it goes, and this isn't to be like, I told you so, or I'm the smartest guy in the room. I am the annoying person on the couch, which Rachel will say. Yeah. That I am usually 10 steps ahead of whatever the writing is, because we write and because we are so, whether it be screenwriting or books or whatever, typically most have formats. So anyone who's in any of these industries, typically where it's going to go unless they break the mold and make something completely different.
Right.
I do feel like this one was really good at having twists and turns that so many didn't see. Like I said, my sister read it, I talked to her about it, didn't see it coming. One of my best friends, Jeremy, read it, didn't see things coming either. I know. I'm
interested to hear what
I did see coming.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the spoiler. From the moment that it was mentioned that Tangerine's person had anything to do with having power.
Yeah.
I said Buddy Lee's ex-wife's husband.
Yeah, me too. I knew it.
Because it's just like, why show the gun if the gun's not going to be used? Why did we have to know that he was in politics at all?
Yeah.
And so it was pretty clear for me on that one.
As soon as the ex-wife showed up at the grave, the grave, I instantly knew.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then one of the other big ones, so his reveal, and then Tangerine, when you find out that she's a trans woman.
I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of surprised by that.
I was surprised.
Not surprised, but I didn't. I
was surprised.
I guess I was surprised.
It wasn't like when Tangerine's name was mentioned, I was like, oh, because the whole time in my head I was picturing I was generalizing any woman.
Yeah.
But when they came upon Tangerine's mom. mom's house.
Yeah.
And they're looking at the photos, and they specifically said, "Oh, and there's a little boy who said same complexion,
like the timeline,
but same complexion as Tangerine." I was like, "Oh, Tangerine must be trans."
And that's pretty deep into the book.
Yeah, it's definitely. There's no other way before that. If anyone's saying that, they would not, because I didn't. It was just that as soon as the photo was mentioned, I was like, "Oh."
The reason why I think that there was a small Easter egg before was that
the hiding of it.
No, that they keep. Cosby kind of showed that there was not that it was that Tangerine was trans, but that there was. You can kind of surmise it if you jump through the hoops, because. So I'll start at the first concept is that at the funeral, he was very descriptive in terms of, he could have said, "Oh, they're friends, they're Isaiah's friends," but he had colorful words for the kind of friends that they were.
Very descriptive. Yeah.
Very descriptive. And then when I go to the club is a gay club.
Yeah.
This gay club helped them get connected to Derek.
Yeah, that's true. Which is where they knew who Tangerine was. So that is true.
You get me? So like through that timeline, in retrospect, you're like, oh shit, okay, he gave some Easter eggs that there was something coming down the pipeline.
I was trying to make everyone else not feel bad. I didn't. I get those Easter eggs.
Okay.
I got
no
you.
problem.
I got you.
Okay, so are we so my favorite line is a spoiler.
Are we going to lines? Oh yeah. Oh no, those coexist. Sorry, go ahead. Yes. What's the line?
Well, I guess I don't have to spoil it to say the line. So the line is, "I really wish we both would have attended the wedding."
Oh yeah.
And the reason why I love that line so much and it really hit me hard was because I got it. Like, they were both lonely. You know, they're ex-cons. They have a family, but the family is, disjointed. Even the one that's married feels a certain level of distance from his wife. Buddy Lee, he's not married anymore, but he still feels a certain distance. He even goes and tells Margot, like, "You're one of the,
I love that scene.
First, awesome scene. You are my first female friend."
Just giving you roses while you're still around.
Exactly. So the reason why I really love that one line is, "I really wish we would have both attended the wedding," is that I get it. Like, we could have hit it off as friends, as buddies, as two people who had completely different point of views, who had probably never spoken to each other in any other situation before. But then also we could have also been there for our kids. So from the point of view of like being a father and a point of view of being a good friend and finding good friends, I think that was such a very strong line. So that's the reason why I really, really love that line. And I didn't have to spoil anything.
That was solid. I love that. I forgot that was, that was a solid line. I can't. When I was researching which ones to put in here, I did not think of that one, and that was definitely one. When I read it, I was like,
yeah,
without saying anything else. Yeah, that would, needless to say, at least for this section, for plot beats and spoilers, it's a roller coaster from beginning to end. The fact that it starts off with this, not buddy cop, but these guys coming together. And getting into it, what caused it, their back and forth, the slow breakdown of one another.
How Buddy even tricked Ike into even going along with it. Right?
That is a huge scene where they're in the hospital and
he realizes that
the catalyst. The final catalyst, I think Ike would have gotten there anyway, but one of the big ones, again, we're in the spoiler section, is that Derek and Isaiah's gravestone or their headstones are damaged, vandalized with very, very hurtful things said on it. And
I liked this. I liked that happened though, because
you loved what was said on the headset?
No, fucking no. I'm not gonna say I was relieved when I read that
It was him.
that Buddy Lee did it because
Yeah.
there was just less hate. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like there was
absolutely.
less
Like,
hate.
why did you have to go that far? Especially after finding out what like it actually makes it make sense. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, again, another spoiler. It's Rare Breed was hired to do all of this.
Right.
Rare Breed is
A
this
biker gang.
So Sons of Anarchy, but super racist. Super racist. So given there'd be a reason for them to continue doing that, or to go as far as to going back to the grave of the people that they murdered, blah blah blah. But why at that point? Unless
what for?
Like, what? It's not like if they came from like big families that had a lot of money. No, these are people that didn't. There's nothing to come from that. So when that reveal happened, which I did not see coming.
No, I didn't see that coming.
But when that did happen and he started coming out, I was like, oh, nobody. But also it was like, oh, that is great writing.
Yeah, great writing. It happened at
writing. Key point.
Yeah.
Which caused the dissonance. I will say, one thing that did piss me off.
Yeah.
Which I do get, especially because Cosby did a good job of going back, or at least saying why, and I'm sure he felt like, I really need to back this up. But Maya going to the house.
What
that drove me?
Yo, that was my next point. Why? I thought that, I'm not gonna lie.
Because she knows.
So to me,
she knows.
That was, I don't get it. And I dislike that so much because that was so, out of everything that happened in the book, the character development, how they think, how they go, that was the only unnatural thing that happened in the whole book.
Because she was so clear-minded the whole time, even to the point where she was like, do what you got to do. Like what you love. You're like,
right.
Oh, she's right or die, whatever.
Right.
But
that made
why? If
no sense.
But the only thing I will say that the justification that he used was that the last of the things,
his baby shoes are in there.
Last of the things that they
you have the last thing of him. You have his daughter though. Mm-hmm. Like it made no sense.
My only devil's advocate moment would be to say with this. She's been the fucking like rock.
Yeah,
the whole time.
She's holding it down.
She's been holding it down in so many of the different like platitudes that like let her have one. But why did it have to be that one? Like, just don't forget to like bathe or forget like something about the house or but like
had Pierce Brown did something like this, I would have stopped reading because he goes way too far with like how he fucks his characters up.
Yeah.
So with this one, I was okay. I still don't like it, but what helps the redemption factor for me is that he's not gonna go scorched earth on his characters. So I'm like, okay, no problem. Like, yeah, there's some coming back from this.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that was a natural progression or a natural part of the character, like for Maya. So, but
yeah, I agree.
Other than that, everything else.
I agree. I think people do crazy things, and I think they do. Like that's why we don't see some. But this one just seems so out of. Yeah, there's no justification. I'm just to be clear, I'm not justifying that.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite lines and scenes.
So I gave you mine. Okay. I want to hear yours.
Okay. There's a couple in here. Just some lines that like just got me.
Yeah.
This one is speaking about Ike. His empty hands that had held his boy when he was barely 10 minutes old, the hands that had shown him how to tie his shoes, the hands that had rubbed the salve on his chest when he had the flu, that had waved goodbye to him and to him in court with shackles tight around his wrists, rough, calloused hands that he had hid in his pockets when Isaiah's husband offered to shake them. There's just so many parts of the book, like when you said, I wish we would have gone to the wedding. There was just a lot that was just like cut deep. That one was definitely one of them for me.
Yeah.
Another one here was him speaking to, we're now out of yeah, do you want to say out of spoilers?
We're out of spoilers.
Out of spoiler zone. So I won't give too much context on this, but I'll just say Ike is saying, I'm not going to lie. I ain't going to lie to you and say that I get you, because I don't. I can't even pretend I know what it means to be like you. But if all this has taught me one thing, it's that it ain't about me and what I get. It's about letting people be who they are. And being who you are shouldn't be a death sentence.
That sums up the book.
Yeah.
It sums up the book. That's one of the best quotes in the book, for sure.
Absolutely.
I remember when I read that, I was like, oh, yeah.
Why does, and that's like, why does that ever have to be the answer to anything?
Yeah.
This was something, I just have to throw this in here really quick, just because it was something that had caught, when we were talking about, giving of yourself, and like, oh, there were those people that I gave to, thinking, and you're like, and we were talking about how you just don't always know, but that there's some people that you still feel like there's an opportunity. I can't remember if it's Buddy or Ike that gives this lesson, but says, I'll leave the name out, but they aren't the person you told yourself they were. That's a hard lesson, but it ain't nothing to be ashamed of. We all learn that lesson, or we teach it to somebody.
That's deep.
And that's why when we were talking earlier, I was like, oh, that's true, because my perspective was this and your perspective was that. And I was like, oh, that speaks to both.
Yeah.
That absolutely speaks to both.
Yeah.
The other one I don't need to. We actually talked in depth about it. The other thing I had on here, did you have anything to say about the quotes? No.
I think this is
one of my I mentioned Jeremy. He gave a great review on Goodreads. You can find us you can find individually. I'm on Goodreads. We'll make one for the
podcast.
The podcast as well. He put his review is an incredible, captivating read from start to finish. Without divulging any of the story, this book packs a ton of themes surrounded by nonstop action and twists, regrets, personal growth, humility, discrimination, privilege, etc. One of the best books I've read in a long time. I got multiple texts from Jeremy, from my sister, as I said, just awestruck by this book.
Yeah, it was awesome. This was top tier. I'm glad you referred this. This is awesome book.
Alrighty. Well,
2 hours in.
2 hours in.
It didn't feel like it.
No, not at all.
So great job, S.A. Cosby. You did awesome job with this.
I'm excited about your other books. I really am.
Yeah.
I'm going to definitely throw those into the mix.
Yeah. Naya's going to love this.
She's got her new favorite author.
She's going to love it. But so thank you for recommending this book. Thank you guys for tuning in to this new episode of The Margins. I hope that we discuss some things that you guys can talk about, engage with. And I'm super interested to hear your point of view on what you guys think about our conversation on this. But more so, I want you guys to read this book. Highly recommend it. And I would love to hear your thoughts on it for those who have read it.
Yeah. Loved it. Love this book. Love this conversation.
Yeah.
We'll let you know. We have not decided what the next book will be. You guys will find out. But again, thank you for listening. You guys can follow us on Instagram at The Margins Podcast.
We'll put up a thing.
We'll definitely have that on there. More episodes to come.
Yes.
More content.
Please tune in.
Yeah, we hope we can deliver something unique to us. But also, we just enjoy doing this. We need an excuse to be able to get out and
exactly
have a drink with a great friend and talk about something we love. So
absolutely,
we hope you guys continue to come by and listen.
We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.